Well, hello, folks. How are you doing on this laid back Friday? It feels laid back, although I would say that it could be debatable with the energy running in a current of a opposite polarity that it could be anything but laid back. But it is. That's how it is in my world. So trust it's the same for you as I get everything put together here. And as the bus pulls out, it's kind of just like, lazy day. Do, 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 do. Ba da 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 da. Talking about you and me. Uh-huh. Always got to have a song in your heart because there's enough nonsense out there that will try to suck that song right out, and leave you to singing the blues, right? So, anyway, thank you for tuning in, dropping on. No, actually, it would be tuning in, dropping. Yeah, yeah, I guess that would be it. Yeah. But anyway, being here, you know you've got a lot of other places you could be, so it's an honor. Thank you. Thank you very much. And speaking favor over us all, nothing missing, nothing broken. Hello, Suzette. Sunverse, I like that. A lot of new people in here. Chloe, how are you doing? Um, how'd your GoFundMe campaign turn out? I think it turned out. Actually, I saw that you hit that goal. Way to go. Scotty boy, good to see you, brother. Um, and boy, the chat room is just so. Welcome. It is an honor to have you here. I appreciate it. Because, well, it's more fun when everyone joins in. It's like, yeah, it's a drag sometimes just being by yourself. What's the song by the Moody Blues? I've been watching and waiting for someone to play with, welcome to my universe. And I think that's how it is. Been thinking a lot. We're going to talk about Asmodeus. You know, King of the Djinn, King of the Daemons. And I was thinking, us humans, we really put a lot of time, energy, and effort into creating these beings. It's quite remarkable. I have a note in that I wrote to myself that said, no angel, no demon, daemon, entity, deity, god, goddess is as powerful as a human spirit, a human soul. I mean, do angels have souls? Demons, do they have souls? Gods, goddesses? They have done such a good job of putting us in a position where we doubt ourselves completely as a species. Individually, it's at an all-time high. That's why those, for instance, in sales, the reason why they succeed in sales is that they know magic on a level that many people don't. And if you're really good at sales, um, you're as powerful as any wizard, sorcerer. It's true. And when you think about demons, angels, gods, all that nonsense, the whole theme is to put you down, to put you and I in a subservient position because, we can't see them, but they exist. And we don't know this, but we'll read it. And then we say, well, they have great power. And we have not advanced as a species. We are so regressed. And sadly, we've already reached our peak and we are on the downward slide. Because why? Well, because humanity doesn't believe in itself anymore. I don't know if it ever has. I imagine that there had to be a time where we did, and we were the gods. And then something happened. Either a mind virus came through the solar system, or there were higher intelligences that were more advanced and took over. But the whole narrative, and I don't care what perspective you come from it, whether it's religion, politics, ideology, everything is designed to put you down, to put us as a species. We're not smart enough. We've created problems that we're not smart enough to solve. When you die, you're either going to go to judgment, heaven, or hell because you aren't good enough. I mean, I spent 50 years in Christianity where you didn't have the right to go to God. And it's odd because people pray to God, but they don't read their Bible. You know, if you're part of that belief system, you can't pray to God. You have to have an intermediary in order to take your request. It's all designed from that very beginning that somehow or another we're a flawed species. And if we're physically flawed, then we're spiritually flawed. And you know, if that's the underlying foundation, the footing of your species, you're never going to achieve anything. The ascension is all bullshit. The after death of you having an actual life is bullshit. It's all bullshit because when you die, it's over. No one's going to remember your sorry ass, and if they do, it's only going to be down, and then you're going to be forgotten. Look back now at the cemeteries, and you tell me how many of those people are being remembered. And if there happens to something with the headstone, then they are forever forgotten. And it seems like it was designed that way. I mean, you look at the United States, and I see that I froze up there, huh? I did look at that. And I froze up again. Well, you see, they don't like it when you start talking about this. So, what would you say is the number one thing that controls everything? What would that be? Hello, chat room. Deborah Sloan, how are you, darling? Chloe, good to see you. Uh, so, Rick, how you doing, brother? Uh, so what is it? The number one thing that controls everything is the reason everything is so screwed up. What would that be? You know, I can sit here all day until you start answering in the chat room. I got no place to go. Yeah. So I'm just saying, well, there we go. Auntie Queen said it. Queenie, you got it right there. And Guy, yeah, it's money. You remove money from the system and you remove the power. Money is the single one thing that entraps us. We don't need it. There are a million other ways that you can do commerce. You don't need a currency because that currency is tied into something that's bigger than you and I. It's sad. You know, it is said with this administration particularly, but it's supposedly is that the United States is a Christian nation. And we're anything but. You just got to be real honest. In fact, it could be say the United States of America is a nation under the control of demons. You know, I don't know if angels could say angels, you know. I always and it's just me, but when I hear people channeling, you know, Archangel Michael and Gabriel, and my Bible school taught me a different version of those beings. You don't want to be around Gabriel, Michael either, to be quite honestly, because if you're not Hebrew, you got no right to be approaching those beings, according to the books. And it's always one thing because, I was taught that if you saw Gabriel, you're dead. That is the god of death. That is Gabriel was the one who slew all the firstborn of Egypt. Remember, reading the book, right? Yeah. Think about those soldiers of Syrian. One night, Gabriel came through 180,000 along, all humans dead. I don't want it. But anyway, getting back to the point, the United States is a nation of pagan gods. It is said it is so pagan that when we put on our money in God we trust, we never said what the God was. And we found out yesterday contracts, if there is an ambiguity to them, you're in deep shit, man. And so, by all evidence, the United States is a nation of devils, a nation of, demons, high deities of a class that would far supersede anything in Greece, Mesopotamia, Babylonia, Rome. No. We're so deep into being ruled by demons, ruled by the devils. I guess I could put angels in there too. You know, there's nothing that says that angels are pure of nature. I mean, isn't Lucifer the archangel? A archangel, right? Just saying. But anyway, because if you look at the system is predicated upon a system of fraud, deceit, lies, stealing, and it's all done under the cloak of magic. I found it interesting how people are turning on Elon for doing nothing more than just showing the truth. And I want one of those fucking computers, those machines, though there's 14 of them they found, one of those fucking money-making machines, right? These machines that just simply continue to write checks and money out of nothing. I want one of those. I mean, if money is the god that supersedes all other gods, then we have really, the United States has perfected the worship of these unseen gods. Because when you have a system that is predicated upon fraud, deceit, um, deception, moving of hands, you never see it, but yet it is real and it's operating. And so when it's exposed, isn't it interesting to see those who will defend these demons, these gods? Look at all of them, and Democrats particularly. Let me tell you, the Republicans have just as much to blame. This has been a Ponzi scheme going on for decades. And don't tell me this is not relevant to the conversation. You can't say that you're seeking ascension if you don't be a part of a solution that begins to reverse the very negativity that's impacting your life. It's crazy. And so you have a system. Now, this system could be another word for a spirit. So there is a spirit or a hierarchy of spirits, of entities, of deities, of something that has the ability to transcend the physical and remain yet attached to the physical. Apparently, the physical is where the action is at. You have competing gods and goddesses and other high spirit intellects that compete to have a part of this amusement park that you or I are in. And if you believe by the system itself, it's a cycle. Once you're captured, there ain't any getting out. And what makes it even more difficult is that when you begin to see around you, you must become aware. We all must. When you start seeing Supreme Court judges and other judges and others that begin to form a cult, and they then begin to do this make-believe shit, because that's what it seems like. It's nothing more. They name themselves a president. They name themselves a sitting judge. They name themselves a priest. Why the fuck would a group of judges, lawyers, certain law firms be a part of this group that they need to have a priest? There's some deep shit going on, folks, and it is everywhere. It's on full display to see these gods, these demons, these angels, these entities battling it out. And they're battling it out through us. We're the puppets. We're the minuets. And that's how we react to things. Even the most enlightened that I have seen, that know all the past, and they can see the whole future. And I'm thinking to myself, and what? So where's the solution? No. We're all either victims or casualties of war. It's really what it is. We, in the occult, if you consider yourself an occultist, I mean, a pagan, we must learn to unite. We all are seeking the same thing, but yet this entity, this power, is behind money. Because with that, everything becomes corrupted. It's powerful. We've got to learn to unite. We can't become so super critical of each other, because I may say fuck and you may say fucked up. Well, don't judge me just because I'm expressing myself. I don't judge you for expressing yourself. You see, but we'll find reasons to divide ourselves. There's some bad, bad magic. There are entities that have taken over nations, and one of those nations is South Africa. That is anti-human, it's anti-earth, is anti-mother goddess, but it's nasty. And what it's doing is ravaging a country that, folks, if you don't think it's a cancer, then you're wrong. What's happening there, and why this administration will not acknowledge it and bring it out for what it is. Why? Because the media is part of this fucking thing controlling money. This God, I don't know what the hell it is. It may be above our ability to even comprehend what it is. Because the thing about money, and I know money, I mean, Christ's sakes, man, I've been in 2 payment systems. Was a subject matter expert. I know payment all the way back. And it's very odd how man, and I don't know if it was outside the sapiens, but sapiens had this weird messed up thing. Because money represents slavery, death, debt. And the thing about it is, you look at who controls the money. And then that gets right back down to this fact that the United States government is a government of devils. It's members of Congress, The judiciary, the legislative, the executive branch is filled with these high priest and priestess who are in the guise of so-called human beings that were either elected or got in because of some sort of shenanigan. And yet they'll wear their crosses, they'll do their whole things, but yet they're promoting a system of fraud. Now, we're about to study Asmodeus. I say that what we have now as a system is more corrupt than any Satan, any Lucifer, any demon in hell, heaven, however you want to describe it. It is so demonic in its nature that it represents death all across it. And we broadcast, we trust in God. Mm. Because you look at the system here, technology. Technology, do you know, is the number one consumption of energy? You take these data centers offline, we would be flooded with an overabundance of electricity. But these data centers are indeed entities. They feed on energy. And of course, it requires constant data. We're the data slaves. Um, and you look at the future. I asked the poll question, what is the immediate future? So when you have high school students who are graduating uh, with honors, you have college students who are getting 4-year degrees who cannot read or write or do basic fifth grade math. Now, what's going on? This is a system of deceit, deception. And I'm pointing it out. We find out who is in the control of the money. Now we start getting in dangerous territory. Because it's far better to be distracted. You know, the problem's too big, it can't be fixed. Or this is the way it's always been. Yeah, I came out of a religion that was like that. I always do that. Yeah, and I got someone wrote me an email and said, "Would you just please, they're new here. Just would you please tell us just how you got there? I'll do that one day." But think about this. And I will say this: if you're a high school graduate, if you're a college graduate, and you cannot read, you cannot write, you can't write cursive, longhand, and if your math skills are not at least at a calculus or a trig level, then you should sue your school district, whoever they gave you a diploma, because it lied. And they've done you a terrible injustice. They've done in society a terrible injustice. Now, what human would purposely do something like this? Is that human possessed? How many people in power would murder another human to keep that power? Are they possessed? Or are they high priest and priestesses to this God? Whatever the fuck this God is. And the thing about it is, I've knelt before its sorry ass. You know, when you're in the tech doing startups, particularly in the arena that I was in, it takes millions and millions and millions just to get out of the startup phase. And you don't think you're going to bend down and kiss your ass to that God? I had my nose so far up its ass that, that's all I could see. Powerful, powerful thing. Saw people that stabbed me in the back, all for money and the power associated with it. It's intoxicating. It's more lustful than sex itself. Which now leads us to let's study Asmodeus. Because apparently this dude, or dudette, I don't know, is got like the control of money. And I wrote down, and what if our perspective is all delusional because we've been only shown this facade? Here's the bottom line. We must remember, listen, there's no God, no spirit that's higher than a human spirit. Now, if we have a soul or don't have a soul, it doesn't matter. We do have a spirit. And it's time for humanity to stop having our head so far up the asses of these so-called entities that we've lost total perspective. It's time to realize that the key to do this, to get out of the trap, is to learn to forgive, even when it doesn't make sense. It's a higher power, and with that comes amazing additional power. The power to bind these other entities, the power to loose the spell, if they even exist. Maybe it's truly our invention, our creation. So let's talk about this cat. Uh, Hello, everyone in the chat room. I always like this. Is Asmodeus one of Solomon's 72? Ivana says yes. Interesting story because that's the legend. And let me see where I want to start off with. Let me get rid of that. So Asmodeus is a prince of demons, daemons, actually, and there's a difference between a daemon and a demon. A daemon is of a higher class. But in any case, in one version, in the Judeo-Islamic tradition, uh, Asmodeus is the king of earthly spirits, the Shindaman or the Jinn, best known from the Deuteronomy of the canonical books of Tobit, in which he is the main antagonist. In Benfield's classification of demons, Asmodeus represents lust. Well, I would say, just being honest here, that virtually everyone in here has met this Asmodeus. I mean, lust is just not sexual. It's, lust of power, lust of success, whatever. Um, the demon is also named in several of the Talmudic fables, one such legend being the story where King Solomon built the Temple of Jerusalem. Some Renaissance Christians fear that Asmodeus was the prince of the nine hells. Asmodeus is also presented as one of the seven rulers of hell. Okay, in the symbolization of demons, each of these characters personifies one of the seven deadly sins, such as lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, anger, envy, and pride. They always say it's us, but yet I can read in the book of Isaiah where this God of the Bible says he is an angry, jealous, envious God. Hmm. I don't know. 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 I don't Asmodeus is anchored in ancient Persia, identified as the demon um, Ashma Divya, one of the seven archangels of Persian mythology. He is said to be a demon of passion, jealousy, and rage. The meaning of his name may also come from the Hebrew shemad, meaning to destroy. He is also known as destroyer of men and demon of lust. Wow. In the Jewish tradition, Asmodeus is described as the king of demons. Tradition has it that Asmodeus fell in love with Sarah, the beautiful daughter of Raguel. He desired Sarah for himself and did not want her to marry a human man. But Sarah married, and every time Asmodeus came to the marriage bed, he killed her new husband. This happened 7 times. Well, now we know where the Black Widow thing came from. Yeah. It was then that Tobias, the eponymous author of the book, was visited by the angel who told him how to handle the demonic lover. Tobias betrothed Sarah and threw Asmodeus out. Well, there you go. Sad that us humans, we're more powerful than what we give ourselves credit for. The demon fled to the furthest regions of Egypt, where the angel Raphael bound him. In the Testament of Solomon, Asmodeus plays a very important role. When King Solomon asked the demons his functions, Asmodeus describes them as causing the destruction of fidelity between man and wife, either by calamities or by causing the man to stray. He also attacks the beauty of virgins by causing them to be consumed. Okay, that's a little vague. Um, a lot of mixed interpretations on what does it mean for a virgin to be consumed. Yeah, I can get the obvious, but in a passage reminiscent to the Book of Tobit, Asmodeus admits that the angel Raphael has power over him. He could also be put to fight by burning the gall of specific fish. Pretty gross. Okay. Badass dude, isn't it? Wow. It is also stated in the Testament of Solomon that he was born of the seed of an angel by a man's daughter. All right, let's stop and think about that one for a second. Born of the seed of an angel by a man's daughter. Again, I know it's just me, but I'm going to pull off here to this rest stop because, this goes and goes. Okay. So, do angels have sperm, semen? I mean, that's what seed is, semen. And again, where are the female angels? I mean, so there's obviously if this was to be done from a forensic DNA, right? That we would discover that these demons, if we could get their blood or whatever their essence is, but somehow we would find it in their DNA that they're related to us or we're related to them. And that their DNA is so similar to ours and to the simians, the apes, the monkeys, that we all seem to have this commonality within our DNA. Because you have an extraterrestrial, that's what angels are, that comes down, has physical intercourse with a human female, and she's able to take its semen within her and impregnate her egg. And there's no rejection in this. I'd like to know how the hell that works. Anyway, um, if this were true, he would be among the watchers. He is included among the Sephrim, the highest angelic, or I did not know that. Did not know that he was considered to be a Sephrim. Wow. Interesting. But fell from favor, from grace, and in the Jewish Haggadah with respect to Noah. Asmodeus is said to have come from a union between the fallen angel Shamdan and a lustful maiden Naamah. King Solomon bound him with iron, a metal often used as an anesthesia to demons. Huh. In addition, in the fiery lore of the British Isles, iron is used to harm or drive away the Fae. Learning something new myself here. Also, according to Hebrew lore, Asmodeus is the husband of Lilith, the queen of lust and mother of the Succubi and the Incubi, or is associated with her. Well, hell, it's quite the little circle we have here, an incestuous bunch, I would say. Being a companion of Lilith is very likely since he is characterized as a demon of lust, sensuality, and luxury. And thus, will you invoke him, or if he's willing to find favor with you, that's what he brings. And listen, I got no problem with Lilith. And I have to continue to say that if it's this Hebrew God and their followers who are writing the script, I'm already suspicious. You know, he's been given this bad rap, but wait a minute. Maybe he's a fun guy to have a beer with and, play a card game. We'll find out if he cheats or not, right? Right? Uh, okay. A conjunction of Asmodeus and Leviathan is mentioned in the grimoire of Armadale, and I have that book. We've actually covered it. The two demons can teach each about the malice of other demons, but the operator is warned when using this technique because these two demons lie. In France, Barrett's the magician, Asmodeus is associated with the sin of anger. I mean, you just got bad vibes. If you're reading this resume, you're going, what the man? Are you just crazy? Let's see. Author Edward Wright's 1910 edition of the Book of Black Magic and Covenants mentions Asmodeus as the superintendent of the casinos of hell. I wonder what kind of odds they give there. What type of games do they have? And there's the whole thing with money again, right? So now we know where that came from. The mention of a demonic hierarchy comes from the 19th century demonologist Charles Burbigor, something like that. All right, so now I got to say, so we've been adding new information to these origins. Says, of course, Christianity continued to demonize it. Why wouldn't they demonize the demon? I mean, that's what they do. It was a major target in witch trials during the Middle Ages. Wow, I did not know that. Asmodeus and the witch trials. Wow. That was one of my videos I did that YouTube aged restricted, because they don't like to talk about that shit. But I did not know that those clerics back those in the days, that were from the church, which were really just sexual perverts. That's all they were. I mean, these guys were into the satanistic, bondage bullshit deep, but the problem was, anyway, um, attached with a sexual nature, he would naturally be among the main demons with whom the witches are accused of having sexual relations. In all my reading and all my searching, you know, I just haven't found that to be a commonplace. It's not that I don't believe it's happened or can happen. I absolutely do believe a etheric being can in fact have sexual relations with a human. Absolutely, I do. We continue. He also continued to be accused of his relations with Lilith, was a patron of sorcerers and wizards who invoked him to smite their enemies. He also ruled gambling houses, casinos, and was invoked with his head uncovered. Wow. This is interesting. I don't know about you, but when I read stuff like this, I'm going, huh. Because as if anyone has, if you've ever spent any time in casinos, there was a time where, oh crap, I was in Las Vegas 5, 6 times a year because of meetings, conventions, etc. And, you know, although I wasn't quite as enlightened as I am now, I still could sense a presence. And it's interesting. So, come to think about it, here's Asmodeus that is involved in any casino that you go into. In fact, it says here that those owners of those gambling houses actually invoked him. This demon was one of the infernal agents accused of sexually possessing the nuns of Lovers in France. Now, we may do a video on that one because that I have read that account. Something happened to them gals. Don't know. Um, the name Asmodeus is also believed to have roots of the Aspen language, meaning wrath and demon. However, it is likely that such a form existed and that the Book of Tobit, Asmodeus, and the Talmuds, Asmadial, reflect it. In the study of Zoroastrianism and Middle Persian demonology, the unit form of the Kashlam, Dev, did coexist, where the term Dev was the same as Deva. Hmm. However, in the encyclopedia proposes that the Asmodeus of the Apocrypha and the Testament of Solomon are not only related in some ways to Esma, but have similar behavior, appearance, and roles, to conclude in another article under the heading Ashmea in the paragraph influenced of Persian beliefs of Judaism that the Zoroastrian Persian beliefs might have strongly influenced the theology of Judaism in the long run. Wow. Hmm. Ain't that special? And I keep saying this, I don't believe that those ancient societies and cultures were ignorant. If they were superstitious, they're just as superstitious as you and I are. We're all superstitious to some degree or level. It's in our nature. So what I conclude from that is this. So there's an unseen species that you and I can't see. It appears that this is not the only realm or dimension where the archons, the angels, the demons, the daemons, the gods, the goddesses, etc., exist. They seem to have a strong influence on human nature, consciousness, etc., and they seem to have the power over us, which would then have the question to beg, so what are we, captives? Don't believe that. The story with Solomon is that Solomon, God, Jehovah, Yahweh, gave Solomon a ring that had a symbol on it. Now that's real interesting because that has all sorts of shit written onto that one. I mean, that apparently in this realm, it is as physical as this realm is, just different laws, possibly, but that they're controlled by emblems, symbols, sigils. And that Solomon, in the supernatural gift that Yahweh, Jehovah, gave him by imparting to him a supernatural wisdom, that within that wisdom, Solomon then had the ability to be able to see into the unseen realm, the spiritual realm. So much so that he was able, by this ring, this signet that was on this ring, that he could control the demons. So much so that he could control the king of the demons and then have them do physical labor. Now, how does a demon do physical labor? And why would a holy God allow demons that he says in the book of Enoch that he had no part in creating? Why would he allow these things to build his temple? I mean, wouldn't that be kind of like, you desecrated the whole thing? And then that Solomon then released his hold on these demons, and they went about doing what they went on to doing. Personally, I think that if I was in forced slave labor and you set me free, I might have a vendetta or two that I want to settle the score on. You know what I'm saying? If this realm is true, and we're here talking about this character. Um, and I've got other things in here because this is a interesting character, particularly from the fact that it comes from Persian um, culture, their history. This one is by Abu Muhammad David Levy, um, who was Asmodeus, king of the demons. So this comes from King Solomon's perspective. It says medieval Talmudic legends and the coronary commentary explain that Asmodeus, a demon, usurped the throne of King Solomon. Well, this gets even more interesting. And led the world astray as the fraudulent son of David. Oh, wow. Contemporary Jews and Muslims dismiss these events as mere folklore, having little reverence to the time at hand. On the contrary, this meticulous etymological based investigation of Jewish, Christian, Islamic, and Freemasonic texts details several as Asmodeus' many incarnations throughout history. Then wouldn't that go with what I said earlier this week? Well, I've said this for quite some time. These gods, these goddesses, demons, angels, whatever the hell you want to call them, they incarnate. So they're violating some rules, or they have something superior where their memories are not being wiped out, but ours is. That somehow this is now saying that if you're incarnated, forced or otherwise back in here, there's no freaking reason at all why we should not have our full memories. If you have these daemons, demons, whoever the hell they are, that have the myth or the historical cultural part of a people, that they come in and out. Wow. It's a rigged game. And if it's rigged, then that tells me that we can manipulate the game. The results of which provide compelling, multifaceted evidence of a template from which Asmodeus will reemerge as the apocalyptic false messiah. Oh, man. Oh man, this is like reading, an F. Paul Wilson book. It's like, yeah, I dig this. I knew Tim LaVey, who wrote the Left Behind series, and he was a part of the same group that I was a part of, and got to talk with him for hours, and how he wrote the Left Behind series, and how he saw this, and how he tells his story that this was his vision that Jesus gave to him, and it was quite interesting. And I read the whole series, and it's apocalyptic. They even made a movie out of it. How interesting that he will take on the personification of the false Messiah. Oh man, is this just juicy? Says Asmodeus is described primarily as the main antagonist in the Book of Tobit. He appears in both the Talmudic legends and the Quranic commentary, perhaps most notably in the story of the construction of King Solomon's temple. Islamic historians claim he is the most knowledgeable and rebellious of all demons. As such, he acts as their chief. This status corresponds with the rabbinical and the Talmudic claims of Asmodeus being king of the demons, analogous to Samuel, Satan. Hmm, well, that's interesting. So, if he's been associated with Lilith, why wouldn't he be the convoluted serpent? And those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, leave it in a comment section. I'll let you know. But the ones who do, you know that in our study of Lilith, that is exactly who Samuel is. So Asmodeus, i.e., Satan, i.e., Lucifer, right? Huh. Well, it is generally assumed that Asmodeus is the proper name of a demonic being. However, it has been suggested that Asmodeus is more likely the title of office for the reigning king of the demons, rather than the name of an individual, just as Pharaoh was the title of an office for the king of Egypt. Therefore, every king of demons acquires the title Asmodeus. Well, I am completely baffled. The being Asmodeus is identified with a multitude of entities. The sheer number of names and entities associated with Asmodeus can cause great confusion as to his true nature, abilities, and agenda. There's no doubt that this entity is, I would just say, seem to be up there, seems to know some stuff. Among those identified with Asmodeus include Ashima Divya, Ad, Adad, Hadad, Hadad Rimmon, Baal, Zubul, Baal, Zubal, Abandon, Apollon, Asmodeus, Azrael, Azael, Aziel, Aziel, Azael, Wow, Azazel and Shamdan, Samuel and Satan, etc., etc., etc. So, and I have a book that I'm hoping to get to that, actually shows how you can invoke this being. As I'm reading this, you're going, hmm. This is one of the few times I'd say you better have your poop together on this one. You go in unprepared, you're likely to get your ass kicked. Just saying. The name Asmodeus has many forms and several intriguing etymological possibilities. Other spelling variations of the name include Ashmedii, the Hebrew Asmodeus, the Greek Asmodeus, Asmodeus, in Latin, as he is known in most translations of the Book of Tobit, Asmodei, Asmodens. Uh, you can just go on and on. Wow. The name is alternatively spelled in the bastardized form based on the basic consonants, Hashmedia. Um, so this guy has about as many names as Jehovah. Got it over there with our friend Frater Syntax, Nathan. 72 names of God. Well, it would make sense that if, one is a usurper and one isn't, or what if they both are? I don't know, that, yeah. And it tells me, just from a layman's perspective, that these beings continue to live. It's remarkable that we're sitting here, in some cases, it goes back 7,000 years ago, that we're still talking about them. That would be evidence, in my point of view, that their longevity, their actuality is quite remarkable. Says, according to ninth century Old English Solomonic legend, he is referred to by the name Saturn, prince of the Chaldeans, and in medieval legends by the name Markloth or Moroth. The Islamic traditions substitute the name Asmodeus with the epithet of the Sakar or the Sakriar. He is commonly referred to as the Sakiar the Genie or Sakar the Rebellious. The popular etymological claim that the Hebrew name Ashmedia comes from the ancient Persian Ashmia Devia, also spelt Ashmedii. Demon of the wrath is refuted by Hebrew scholars citing both linguistic and contextual arguments. Nevertheless, they both share similar characteristical traits. Although Ashmedii may or may not be the same spirit as the malevolent Ashmia Divia, the Latin name Asmodeus is commonly applied to both of them. Holy crap. And this goes on even more. It's a detailed study. Um, I mean, what the? I see the time is gone. Sucks. It does. I just find this absolutely fascinating. Even for me, I had pulled that up and I did not realize how detailed it was going to be getting into that. I was using it for the first couple of paragraphs, but holy crap. I mean, wow. And you can't help but not think then, in a system as corrupt as the United States government is. And listen, there are other governments that, are as corrupt as this one. They all, I just don't know because, we haven't been able for the first time to pull the curtain back and begin to see what the hell is going on here. And it's some powerful magic. Listen, when you got systems that are set up that only the insiders know how the thing is rigged, and then you concoct an illusion that overlies it, that's some heavy magic, man. That's the bad kind. That's the kind that is just deep into this thing with what I would say is Asmodeus. And I'm not rightly sure that anyone would want to invoke it. But then again, the argument has to be made, yeah, but who is this coming from? This is all coming from primarily the Abrahamic belief systems. And so, if you take an open minded perspective of this, then maybe Asmodeus is exactly what he's being described as, an enemy of that system, of that God. Maybe he knows why there was a rebellion, why there was even a need for rebellion if you had perfection already in place. Maybe he knows. So I've got to look at him and say, now, wait a minute, Asmodeus. You know, when I started studying Lilith, and that was a study that for myself lasted almost 3 years, deeply getting into things with her, I found out that she wasn't what I had been told. And I have said this before that if Lucifer exists, I want to get an interview. That would be the interview of the all the cosmic ages. Maybe I might get my wish. So, I hope you have found this interesting because I actually had the next one. And as you get deeper into this thing, you're going, okay, so maybe he's not as bad as it is. Maybe, in fact, he is exactly how they're describing it. But I have to take the counter position that if I knew that the one saying that it's the Holy One and it's the only one, and I knew that wasn't true, then what are you going to do? Well, I'd probably do what he did. She did. You know, it would seem to me also that the opposing party would probably not be dominantly male. That opposing antithesis of the antagonist itself would be feminine in nature. Maybe that's part of what we're doing here. Who knows? Um, lady, lady Ellie is what? Wayne, ask chat. Yeah. I've asked that thing that way, and I just began to realize I was adding to its consciousness. It's like, we're the Borg. Resistance is futile. You will be assimilated into our consciousness. Yeah. Kill Your Egregore said, met Lucifer a few times in my dreams. He assured me that Earth was hell. There you go. It has all the makings of it, doesn't it? Yeah. And I can't help but not say, we spoke of Asmodeus enough. They say if you say the name 3 times, Asmodeus, 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 and then I get this limerick in my head, right? And that's kind of like, the channeling of your opening. Remember back in the days where if you made an international call, you had to have an international operator. May I help you? Yes, I'd like to speak to Lucifer, please. It's like, you know. Let me see if his line is available. And yeah, how would Lucifer be? Would she be that voice that would just be the voice of like, wow, I knew she was like that. And what would happen if you actually got her on the phone? Yeah. Mary Wins, thank you very much. I hope you have found that today's conversation was you know, illuminating, add it to your own essence, and take from it what you shall like. We're going to continue to collect call. I can't afford it. I love that. Reverse charges. Yeah. Yeah. That was back in the day. Yeah, Felix. So that tells me a little about yourself. So way to go. Uh, yes, Millie. Lila Tomlin was the best operator on Laugh-In. I mean, I agree. One ring a ding, two. Yes. And see, much love to all of you because I can see that that's why there's more commonality here than what meets the eye. Uh, anyway, so have yourselves a groovy weekend. Continue to study this. I'm going to go back to what we're reading because it's got me intrigued now that they're going to tie this thing into like the end times. The beast is already here, right? Yeah. Gaia, much love to you and Paul as well. Scotty boy, I just hope they can put money on. There you go. Yeah, it's like, well, if we're in this, in the thing, well, all right. So how do I get the cash? Yeah. Like I said earlier, I want one of those cash machines. I mean, seriously, 14 of them? I mean, they wouldn't miss one. I mean, I take real good care of it. Yeah. Folks, there's got to be a better day for humanity. I mean, seriously. All right, I have like went over about 6 minutes, so I apologize for that. Hello, Cheesesteak. What's up? Good to see you. Rick says simulating. I like that. Yeah. All right. Check out the other folks podcast. No, I haven't seen Robert V, but you know, saying hey to you, Robert. Good to see you. Uh, Guy says we can share. Exactly. That's my point. I mean, yeah. All right, everyone. Much love to you, and we'll pick right back up on Monday. There is so much material that, yeah, it's just it's intriguing, and I'm sure, no doubt, that what I'm going to be reading this weekend, I'll have um, my cliff notes on that, and so Monday's show would be, you know, exciting, enlightening, edifying, uplifting, right? All right. Until we